Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little distinct today.
Yeah, bit of a change of pace.
Usually we are looking at the absolute bleeding edge of things, new tech, modern psychology, the latest business trends popping up online.
All this stuff is happening right now.
But today we are hitting the rewind button. We are going way, way back.
We are going to the source code.
Exactly, the absolute source code. We're tackling a monster of a text today, and I mean that with the utmost respect.
Oh, for sure.
We are looking at a piece of work that is widely considered the grandfather, or maybe even the great-grandfather, of all modern personal development.
It really is. I mean, if you trace the family tree of self-help, if you look at someone like Tony Robbins, if you look at The Secret,
Absolutely.
if you look at practically any business guru on YouTube right now, and you follow their footnotes back far enough, you almost always end up right here.
At Napoleon Hill.
At Napoleon Hill.
And we are diving into his seminal work, The Law of Success. Now, most people, they know Think and Grow Rich.
Right, that's the famous one.
That's the famous paperback you see in every airport bookstore in the world. It's ubiquitous.
It is.
But The Law of Success, that is the encyclopedia. That is the deep cut.
That's a great way to put it. Think and Grow Rich is like the movie trailer.
Yeah.
The Law of Success is the full director's cut with the commentary track included. It is massive.
It's huge. And specifically today, we are zooming in on Lesson 2, which is a definite chief aim, and Lesson 3, self-confidence.
1-2 punch, really, the foundation.
Before we really get into the weeds here, I just want to set the stage for everyone listening.
Right.
This material was originally published in 1928.
Wow.
Nearly 100 years ago. It's the Roaring Twenties, flappers, the Model T Ford. So I have to ask the obvious question.
Go for it.
Why are we talking about this in 2026? Hasn't the world changed just a little bit too much for this to still be relevant?
That is absolutely the right question to ask. And look, the technology has changed 100%.
Of course.
They had telegraphs. We have the internet. They had the Model T. We've got electric cars. But the human operating system,
The software.
the software running inside our skulls, that hasn't had an update in a very, very long time.
So fear is still fear.
Fear is still fear. Ambition is still ambition.
Yeah.
And what makes this specific work so heavy, so enduring, is the data behind it.
Right. Let's unpack the data. Because this wasn't just some guy, sitting in a cabin in the woods having philosophical thoughts.
Not at all, no. Hill acted as a reporter for 20 years. 20 years. And he analyzed over 16,000 people.
16,000.
Just think about that sample size for a second. That's not a small focus group.
No, that's a massive study.
It's 16,000 case studies. And he wasn't just interviewing, random people on the street. He had direct access to the titans of the Gilded Age.
We're talking Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, the absolute giants.
Alexander Graham Bell, John D. Rockefeller, he was in the room with them.
That's the key.
He wasn't guessing what made them successful. He was literally taking notes on their behavior, their mindset, their habits, their decision-making processes. He was looking for the common denominator.
And the mission, really, for this deep dive is to decode that common denominator, because Hill claims he found it.
He does.
He claims he decoded the specific philosophy of success, and he draws a very, very sharp line in the sand, doesn't he?
He does. It's a controversial line, for sure.
Yeah.
He says there is a distinct difference between the 95% of people who fail and the 5% who succeed. And he claims he knows exactly what that difference is.
And that's the core tension we are going to explore, this battle between what he calls drifting.
Which sounds so harmless.
It sounds pleasant, right? But it's actually, in his view, incredibly dangerous. The battle between that and organized effort, which he just straight up equates with power.
Exactly.
Power.
I'd have to say, though, going through this source material, I was surprised by the storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
I was expecting a textbook, maybe something a bit dry, a bit academic, given the era. Sure.
But there are moments in here that feel like a film noir script. We've got a suicidal tramp looking in a mirror in a rain-soaked Chicago, a man without legs becoming a millionaire. I mean, it's vivid.
The narrative is the hook. That's what pulls you in. But what I want to help us do today is look past just the romance of the stories.
Okay.
And really understand the mechanics behind them. Hill was talking about psychological mechanisms here. Things like autosuggestion, social heredity, the crystallization of thought into physical reality.
So it's not magic.
It's not magic. He's basically describing how to hack your own subconscious almost a century before we had MRIs to see what was happening in the brain.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with that first big concept, the definite chief aim. Because Hill drops a statistic that just hits you like a ton of bricks right out of the gate.
The 95 versus the 5.
Right. He says 95% of the 16,000 people he analyzed were classified as failures. Now, hearing that today, it sounds incredibly harsh.
It does. It sounds judgmental.
It really does. It's saying they were bad people.
Yeah.
Or, morally deficient.
No, and we have to clarify his definitions here, or we're going to misunderstand the entire philosophy.
Okay.
He isn't making a moral judgment. He isn't saying they were sinners or that they were unlovable people. He defines failure specifically and only as the lack of a central purpose. These were the ones who didn't find happiness, who struggled for the bare necessities, who lived in a state of, chaotic reaction to the world.
So failure in the Hill Dictionary is passivity. It's letting life happen to you.
Precisely. It's being a ship without a rudder,
Yeah.
just drifting. And conversely, we need to look at his definition of success.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people assume, 1928 Gilded Age, success must just mean having a giant vault of gold coins like Scrooge McDuck.
Right. Just get rich or die trying. That whole mindset.
But that's not it at all. He'll define success as, and I'm quoting here, the development of the power with which to get whatever one wants in life without interfering with the rights of others.
Okay, I want to highlight that last clause. Without interfering with the rights of others.
It's crucial. It's so important.
It is, because it separates this from a kind of pirate philosophy. It's not about pillaging. It's not about winning at someone else's expense.
Exactly. But the operating word in that sentence is power. Hill is obsessed with this idea of power.
He is.
But again, we have to define it. He defines power very specifically as organized energy or organized effort.
Okay, organized effort.
Yeah.
He uses this great analogy of the burning glass, basically a magnifying glass. I love this because it's so visual. You can just see it.
It's the perfect metaphor for the definite chief aim. It's just physics, really.
Explain it.
Okay, so imagine you have a wooden plank.
Yeah.
And you can let the sun shine on that plank for 1,000,000 years. The sun is powerful, right?
Incredibly powerful.
It's sending massive amounts of energy down. But if that energy is just spread out across the whole surface of the plank, what happens?
Well, the wood gets warm, maybe the paint fades a little bit over time, but not much.
Right. Gets warm, it's
Yeah.
pleasant, but nothing transforms. Nothing
Okay.
fundamental changes. Now, you take a reading glass, a magnifying glass, and you hold it between the sun and that plank.
Okay.
You focus those exact same solar rays onto a single tiny spot, maybe the size of a dime.
And within seconds, you see smoke.
You see smoke, and then you see fire. It burns a hole right through the plank.
Right.
Now, you have to ask yourself, did the amount of energy coming from the sun change?
No, not at all.
Did the wood itself change? Was it suddenly more flammable?
No, same piece of wood.
The only variable that changed was focus. That's it.
And Hill's argument is that the human mind works the exact same way.
The exact same way. Most people, the 95%, are scattering their mental faculties over 1,000,000 different things.
It's so true.
They worry about the weather, they worry about the news, they worry about what their neighbors are doing, they worry about what to eat for dinner. Their energy is dissipated, it's spread out.
So they are the plank that's just getting warm but never actually igniting.
Exactly. They have plenty of energy. They are tired at the end of the day. They've been busy, but they haven't produced fire. The person with a definite chief aim gathers all that faculty, all that mental energy, and focuses it on one single point. And that creates power.
Yeah.
That's what cuts through the obstacles.
It reminds me of that feeling when you're trying to multitask versus when you're really deep in a flow state on one project. The difference in output is insane.
It's not even comparable. And Hill takes this a step further with another metaphor, the blueprint metaphor.
Right.
He asks you, the reader, to imagine building a house. Imagine walking past a construction site. You see piles of bricks, lumber, glass, steel, and there are workmen everywhere.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Total controlled chaos.
Right, but now imagine there is no blueprint.
Wow.
There is no architect. The workmen just show up and start nailing things together. One guy says, I feel like putting a window here. Another says, I'm going to build a wall over here.
It would be absolute chaos. The plumbers would be installing pipes in the living room. The electricians would be trying to wire the bathtub. It would be a nightmare.
It would be a disaster. The house would probably fall down before it was even finished. It'd be a total waste of time and materials.
For sure.
And yet, Hill points out, and this is the stinging part of the lesson, that this is exactly how most people enter adulthood.
Oof.
They graduate school, they get a job, and they just start building their life with no blueprint whatsoever.
They're just reacting. Oh, there's a job opening in this department. I guess I'll take it. Oh, my friend moved to this city. Maybe I'll go there.
They are reacting. Exactly. They have no life blueprint. They are just nailing birds together randomly and hoping it turns into a house.
It's a powerful image.
And that brings us to the tragedy of the peanut seller.
Oh, man, this story. It's such a small moment in the text, but it really, really sticks with you. Tell the listeners about the peanut seller.
So Hill describes looking out his window in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's a cold day. And he sees a man on the street corner selling peanuts. And he just watches this man for a long time. And the man is busy. He is working. He's roasting the peanuts. He's putting them into those paper bags. He's making change for customers. He's shouting to get attention. He is working incredibly hard.
Right, and that's the important distinction here. He's not lazy.
Not at all. And this is the trap we all fall into. We tend to equate hard work with success. We have this idea that if we just grind, if we're just busy all the time, we'll eventually make it.
The hustle culture gospel.
Exactly. But Hill looks at this man, and he sees a drifter. And you have to ask why. Why is this hardworking man a drifter?
Because his effort isn't directed toward a higher aim.
That's it. He's doing the work of a peanut seller because that's just what happened to be in front of him that day. There's no plan for tomorrow or next year or 10 years from now.
And Hill implies that the tragedy isn't that the man is working, but that the same amount of effort, the exact same number of calories burned,
Yes.
if they were directed at a definite chief aim, could have yielded 1,000 times the return.
1,000 times. It's the difference between motion and progress. The peanut seller has motion, lots of it. He's moving all day, but he has no progress because he has no destination.
He's treading water.
He's treading water. The successful person has progress because they have a map. They know exactly where the ship is supposed to be sailing.
Okay, so if the definite chief aim is it's the target, it's the map,
The destination.
then the next big concept Hill introduces is the how, the vehicle for that power. And this is where we get into the mastermind principle.
And this is probably Hill's most famous contribution to business literature. I mean, honestly.
I think so.
If you go to Silicon Valley today, everyone talks about their network or their board of advisors. That all starts here. And it all came from his interview with Andrew Carnegie,
The Steel King himself.
the Steel King. So picture this. Hill is a young, broke reporter. He's just starting out. And he manages to get a meeting with Andrew Carnegie, who is arguably the richest man in the world at that time.
An incredible opportunity.
And Hill asks him, essentially, Mr. Carnegie, what's your secret? How do you know so much about making steel? It's the obvious question to ask.
Of course. And Carnegie's response is just perfect. He laughs at him, right?
Yeah, it does. He chuckles. And he basically says, young man, I don't know anything about making steel.
Which is wild. The guy's name is synonymous with steel. He owns the entire industry. To the listener, that just sounds insane.
It completely disrupts our idea of what expertise is. We think the boss has to be the smartest person in the room about the specific product.
The technical expert.
Right. And Carnegie explains, no, I have chemists who know the chemistry of steel far better than I ever will. He says, I have engineers who know the mechanics of the blast furnaces. I have accountants who understand the finances.
So what did Carnegie bring to the table? What was his job?
He brought the mastermind. His skill, his unique power, was the ability to organize the minds of those men. He defines the mastermind as, quote, a mind made up of many minds.
Coordinated in a spirit of harmony.
And that harmony part is so crucial. I cannot stress that enough.
It's not just having smart people around.
No. Hill is very, very specific about this. It's not just a group of people in a room. If you have 5 brilliant people in a room, but they hate each other, or they're jealous of each other, or they're hiding information,
You don't have a mastermind.
you do not have a mastermind. You have a disaster. You have negative voltage. The whole thing short circuits.
Carnegie said that the combined intelligence of his staff was a power that no single individual, not even him, could ever match. It's exponential, not just additive.
Right. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 10. It's a chemical reaction between minds that creates a third, invisible, more powerful mind.
Hill uses a fable here to illustrate this, which I think is really helpful for visualizing the concept, the bundle of sticks.
Yes, the old fable of the man with the 7 quarreling sons.
Right.
The father is on his deathbed, or in some versions, he's just trying to teach them a lesson about unity because they're always fighting.
They're always at each other's throats.
Exactly. So he takes 7 sticks and he ties them tightly together into a bundle. He hands this bundle to each son, one by one, and says, break this.
And none of them can do it. They strain, they sweat, the stick creaks, but the bundle is just too thick, it won't
It's
snap.
too strong.
Hmm.
Then the father cuts the string, and he hands them the sticks one at a time.
Snap, snap, snap.
They break so easily. The lesson is obvious but profound. Unification creates invincibility. Internal friction, the quarreling, makes you weak and easily defeated.
And Hill applies this directly to the listener. He doesn't just say, go hire a staff or go build a board of directors. That's not accessible to most people.
No, not at all.
He talks about forming a friendly alliance.
This is the practical application for you, for me, for anyone listening. You don't need to be a tycoon to use the mastermind principle.
So what is a friendly alliance?
Hill suggests forming an alliance with people who genuinely have your best interests at heart. He explicitly mentions your spouse, your family, your closest friends.
It's interesting that he mentions the spouse first. He says if you're married, your partner must be part of this alliance.
He's very adamant about that. It goes back to that harmony principle.
The quarreling sticks.
Exactly. If there is friction at home, if you are quarreling sticks with your partner, you cannot generate the power needed for success. You are leaking energy constantly.
That's a great way to put it, leaking energy.
And he says the members of this alliance, they should all sign your definite chief aim statement.
Wow, really?
Yes. And they should reinforce your confidence daily. It's about creating an environment, a little ecosystem, where belief is the default state, not doubt.
So you've got your aim, which is the focus. You've got your mastermind, which is the team or the vehicle.
Right.
Now we get into the territory that usually makes people a little skeptical.
The spooky stuff.
The spooky stuff. It's the psychology of attraction and autosuggestion.
It does sound spooky, I'll grant you that. And I think if you approach it with a purely modern, cynical lens, it's really easy to dismiss as, woo-woo.
Right, the law of attraction.
But Hill frames it as a psychological law. He views the mind as a magnet, pure and simple.
He uses the phrase, misery loves company.
We say that as a cliche, but Hill says it's a literal description of how the mind works. He says if you go into a cheap boarding house district in a city, you find people of a certain mindset congregated together.
Okay.
If you go to a prosperous community, a successful neighborhood, you find successful people all living together.
He says water seeks its level.
Right. The mind attracts people and circumstances that harmonize with its dominating thoughts.
So if your dominating thought is fear or poverty or I'm not good enough,
you will unconsciously seek out people and situations that confirm that reality for you. You will attract other drifters because their mindset harmonizes with yours.
it's like when you decide to buy a certain car. Let's say you want a red hatchback.
Yep.
All of a sudden you see red hatchbacks everywhere. They were always there, but now your brain is tuned to that frequency.
Exactly. That's the reticular activating system in modern psychology. Your brain filters reality based on what it thinks is important. Hill didn't have that term, but he understood the mechanism perfectly.
So if you tune your brain to failure, you will see every opportunity to fail. You'll notice every obstacle.
And if you tune it to success, you will start to spot opportunities that were completely invisible to you before.
So how do we change the magnet? How do we change what we're attracting? This is where autosuggestion comes in.
Autosuggestion is basically self-hypnotism. That's the simplest way to think about it. It's the deliberate planting of a specific thought into your subconscious mind.
And the subconscious doesn't argue.
It doesn't argue. It's not a debater. It's like fertile soil.
What?
It just accepts whatever seed you plant in it, good or bad. It doesn't judge.
So the strategy he gives is remarkably simple. It's almost deceptively simple.
It is.
Write out your definite chief aim and put it where you can see it morning and night.
It sounds trivial, right? It sounds like affirmations. We think the little sticky note on the bathroom mirror.
Yeah, you are a tiger.
Right. But the mechanism behind it is to saturate the subconscious until that aim becomes your dominating thought. Once it dominates your subconscious, it automatically influences your conscious physical actions.
So you start noticing those opportunities.
You start noticing opportunities, you start walking differently, you start talking to people with more confidence. Your choices begin to align with the goal, almost without you having to force them.
He tells a story about a writer, he doesn't name him, but he says he's a famous public speaker, who took this visualization to just an extreme level.
Oh, the imaginary council table.
Yes, this is one of the wildest parts of the text.
It's my favorite part because it shows the sheer power of disciplined imagination.
Tell the story.
Okay, so this man, before he was successful, he was struggling. And every single night, he would close his eyes and imagine a long council table in a grand room, and he would invite the greatest men in history to sit with him at this table.
He invited people like Lincoln, Washington, Napoleon, Ralph Waldo Emerson.
The heavy hitters. And he wouldn't just look at them. That's the key. He would hold imaginary conversations with them.
What do you mean?
He would turn to Lincoln and say, "Mr. Lincoln, I desire to build in my own character your profound patience and your unwavering sense of fairness." He would ask Napoleon for his strategic genius. He would ask Emerson for his vision and clarity of thought.
It's almost like he was running a simulation in his head, a character-building simulation.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
He was role-playing the traits he wanted to possess. He was immersing his subconscious in the qualities of greatness.
And what was the result?
Hill says the result was that he actually began to develop a personality that was a composite of these figures. He absorbed their traits via autosuggestion. He faked it until he became it, but on this deep internal psychological level.
That's incredible, but, and there's always a but with these things, there is an enemy to all of this.
There is.
You can have the aim, you can have the visualization, but Hill says there is something that paralyzes the mind and stops it all cold.
The 6 basic fears.
This is a huge section of the source material. He transitions into lesson 3, self-confidence, by basically saying, you cannot have a definite chief aim if your mind is crippled by fear.
Fear acts as a barrier. It's like a short circuit. It scuttles the organized effort. It scatters the light from the burning glass before it can ever focus.
And Hill identifies 6 specific ones that he says plague all of humanity.
Let's list them. The fear of poverty, the fear of old age, the fear of criticism,
The fear of loss of love of someone.
the fear of ill health, and of course the big one, the fear of death.
I feel like everyone listening just mentally checked off at least 2 or 3 of those boxes.
Oh, absolutely. They are universal. But what's so fascinating is Hill's theory on where these fears come from. He talks about something he calls social heredity.
Okay, this is distinct from physical heredity, right? We're not talking about genes or DNA.
No, not at all. We're talking about software, not hardware. Social heredity is the transmission of beliefs, superstitions, and fears from one generation to the next through environment and teaching.
So it's what you were taught to be afraid of before you had the power to reason for yourself.
Precisely.
Yeah.
He uses some animal examples here that are really graphic and make the point so well.
Yeah.
The ruffed grouse.
Yes.
So Hill observes a mother grouse in the wild. When a human, a predator, approaches her nest, she doesn't attack. She does something brilliant. She feigns a broken wing.
Right.
She hobbles away, dragging her wing on the ground, making herself look like an easy, vulnerable meal to lure the predator away from her babies.
That's a smart bird.
Very smart. But watch what happens to the babies. The moment the mother gives the signal, the baby birds, who are minutes old, who have never seen a human, never felt pain from one, they freeze. They hide under leaves. They practically stop breathing.
They learned fear.
They learned in an instant to fear man. They didn't know fear before the mother taught them. Hill's point is that this is a behavior learned through social transmission, not instinct.
And the dog and the hen, that one was even more brutal.
That one is about traumatic learning. It's a different angle. An Airedale dog on a farm chases a chicken. The mother hen, protecting her chicks, attacks him ferociously, pecks at his eyes, beats him up with her wings.
A tough hen.
A very tough hen. The dog is traumatized. Later, Hill puts a chicken in the dog's sleeping area, and this big, tough Airedale dog runs away in terror. He learned a permanent fear of chickens via one painful experience.
So Hill's argument is that humans are the same. We are the dog, we are the grouse chicks.
Exactly. He argues that most of our deepest fears, especially the fear of hell, the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, are planted in our minds during childhood by parents, by teachers, by religious institutions. We aren't born afraid of being criticized. We are taught to fear standing out from the herd.
Speaking of standing out, the hat example was hilarious, but also kind of tragic.
It's a perfect illustration of the fear of criticism in our everyday lives. Hill observes that men in his time go bald because they wear these tight circulation-cutting hats. Now, whether that's medically true or not is totally beside the point.
Right, it's about the psychology.
His point is, why do they wear the hats if they're so uncomfortable and bad for them?
Because everyone else is wearing them. It was the style.
Right. He says men are so afraid of being different, so terrified of someone pointing and saying, look at that guy without a hat. that they
Yeah.
will literally physically damage themselves rather than break a simple social convention.
And he calls it fashion.
Fashion is driven by the fear of criticism. We fear wearing last season's clothes. We fear not having the latest phone. And Hill says this trivial fear, this fear of what hat to wear, extends to our careers and our lives. We don't pursue our definite chief aim because what will people say?
Who does he think he is?
That's a crazy idea. It's the fear of cringe.
It is. It's the fear of being judged. And it paralyzes us.
It does.
So we have these fears, these inherited programs, effectively putting the brakes on our potential. How do we reclaim that power? This leads us to the section of the book that is just pure storytelling gold. Hill shares a story about a tramp, a homeless man who comes into his office in Chicago.
This is the emotional anchor of the entire lesson.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible story. You have to set the scene. It's Chicago. It's gritty. It's probably raining.
Yeah.
This man comes in, and he is at the absolute bottom, rock bottom. He's suicidal. He's lost his fortune, his family, his hope. He looks like a ghost. He comes to Hill, who was working as a character analyst at the time, basically asking for a lifeline, for a handout.
And Hill's reaction is so interesting. He doesn't give him money. He doesn't give him a meal.
No. Hill realizes money won't fix this. If he gave the man $1, he would just be a beggar with $1.
Yeah.
The man's mental machinery is broken.
Right.
So Hill tells him, I can't help you, but I can introduce you to the only man in the world who can.
I can just imagine the tramp's reaction, a glimmer of hope. He's probably thinking, is it a banker? Is it a rich uncle I didn't know about? Is it some philanthropist?
He says, for God's sake, leave me to him.
Yeah.
He's desperate.
Uh-huh.
So Hill takes him by the arm, leads him into a back room, pulls aside a curtain, and stands him in front of a full-length mirror.
And he points at the man's own reflection.
He points at the reflection and says, there's the only man who can put you back on your feet. Unless you become friends with him, unless you get him on your side, you might as well go jump in the lake.
It's such a cinematic moment. It is so harsh, but it's so true.
It is. The man just stares at himself.
Yeah.
Bearded, dirty, defeated, and he just breaks down and cries. He realizes in that moment that he has been his own enemy. He hasn't been fighting the world, he's been fighting himself.
But the story has a coda. It doesn't end there.
It doesn't. He leaves, and Hill doesn't see him for a while, doesn't know what happened to him.
Then a few days later,
The man returns, and he's transformed. He's shaved. He's in a new suit. He's walking with a brisk, confident step. The cramp is completely gone.
what happened?
He had gone out, he used his restored confidence to sell himself into a job with a $3,000 salary, which was a fortune in those days, a fortune. And he came back to thank Hill. He realized he was his own savior. The power was in him the whole time.
It's the ultimate lesson in self-reliance. It's about taking that radical responsibility for your own life.
It is.
But Hill also gives us a more tactical example of this kind of resilience with the ad salesman story. This one is all about persistence.
This is the story of a timid young man. He wanted to sell advertising for the Philadelphia North American newspaper. And he was scared, he was quiet, not a natural salesman at all.
Yeah.
But he had a definite chief aim.
And what was his strategy?
He made a list, but not just any list. He made a list of 12 impossible merchants. These were the guys who had said no to every other salesman in the city. They were the meanest, toughest, most stubborn prospects you could find.
Why on earth would he start with the hardest ones? That just seems masochistic.
To test himself, to build the muscle of resilience, he decided he would call on them every single day until they bought an ad.
Every day, that's dedication.
Every single day, rain or shine. And there's this one merchant in particular who refused him 30 times, 30 days in a row. The salesman walks in, the merchant shouts, no, the salesman walks out.
That's brutal.
On the 31st day, the merchant gets fed up and he says, why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting my time? I've told you no for a month straight.
And the kid's answer is just legendary.
It is. He looks the merchant in the eye and he says, I'm not wasting my time. I'm going to school. You're teaching me every argument a merchant can possibly make against buying, and I'm learning how to handle every single one of them.
That reframing is brilliant. He wasn't getting rejected. He was getting an education.
And the merchant was so stunned, so impressed by that self-confidence, by the sheer audacity of it, that he bought the ad space right then and there. And Hill says that young man went on to become a millionaire. It wasn't talent. It was the refusal to accept the reality of no.
Hill also brings up the issue of physical limitations. We mentioned the tramp and the salesman, but then he talks about Milo C. Jones and Lee Cook.
These stories are here to strip away your excuses. They're brutal. If you're sitting there listening and thinking, well, I can't do it because I'm tired or I don't have the right resources, listen to this. Milo C. Jones was paralyzed. He couldn't move his body. He was bedridden. All he had was his mind.
So what did he do? Just give up?
No. Lying in bed, he devised a plan to make and sell sausage, what became famous as Little Pig sausage. He directed his family on how to do it. He organized the entire business from his mattress. He built a fortune without ever standing up.
That's incredible. And Lee Cook?
Lee Cook was a man without legs. Yeah. He had to wheel himself around on a little cart. He became a millionaire industrialist.
Oh.
Hill's point is brutal, but it's also incredibly empowering. If a man without legs can succeed, and a man who can't even move his body can succeed, what is stopping you? It's not your body. It's not your circumstances. It's your self-confidence.
And this leads us perfectly into the how-to section of the episode. Hill doesn't just leave us with inspirational stories. He gives us a formula, the self-confidence formula.
Yes, a literal step-by-step pledge. And Hill actually instructs the reader to write it down, sign it, and repeat it aloud every single day.
Let's walk through the steps. What's step 1?
Step 1 is acknowledgement. You have to state out loud, I know I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. It starts with admitting possibility. You have to tell yourself that you can.
Okay, step 2.
Step 2 is realization. You have to realize that your dominating thoughts will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action. This is the magnet concept again. You pledge to concentrate your mind for 30 minutes daily on the task of thinking of the person you intend to become.
30 minutes? That's a long time for modern attention spans.
It is, but think about it. How much time do we spend scrolling social media, looking at other people's lives, other people's successes?
Way more than 30 minutes a day.
Exactly. Hill asks you to spend that time visualizing your future self. It's an investment in your own mental blueprint.
Okay, step 3 involves autosuggestion.
Right. You pledge to spend 10 minutes daily demanding of yourself the development of self-confidence. And I love that word he uses, demanding.
It's active.
It's very active. It's not passive. You aren't asking the universe for confidence. You are demanding it of your own psyche. You are commanding your subconscious.
And step 4 is very practical.
Very. Write down a clear description of your aim. Never let it get fuzzy or vague. Ambiguity is the enemy of action.
And step 5, this is the one that really stood out to me. He calls it the ethics clause.
It's vital. He writes, and this is a direct quote, I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity.
Wow.
He says, no success can endure if it is not built on truth and justice.
That seems almost contradictory to the cutthroat businessman stereotype we have of the 1920s.
It does, but Hill, and he learned this from Carnegie, believed that true power comes from cooperation. If you build your success by screwing people over, you create enemies. Enemies create friction, and friction destroys the mastermind.
So being ethical isn't just a nice thing to do, it's strategic.
It's efficient. It's the path of least resistance to lasting power.
He also makes a really sharp distinction between self-confidence and egotism.
Yes. This is a trap so many people fall into, especially when they start to get a little success.
What's the difference?
Egotism is based on what you wish you knew. It's bluster. It's loud. It's insecure. And it needs to announce itself. Self-confidence is based on what you do know. It's quiet. It's earned.
He has a great line. He says, do not tell the world what you can do. Show it.
That's the golden rule of confidence. Confidence doesn't need to shout. The results speak for themselves.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on the outro of the source material. Hill gets a little philosophical at the end. He talks about what he calls the paradox of discontentment.
Yeah, he reflects on the grass is always greener syndrome. That cycle of desire that we all get caught in.
Explain that.
You know the feeling. You desperately want a raise at work. You think, if I just get that raise, everything will be perfect. You get the raise, and you're happy for a week. Then you start thinking, you know, with this raise, I could afford a new car. So now you want the new car. You get the car. Then you want a bigger house.
It never ends.
It never ends. But Hill says this isn't necessarily a bad thing. He has this beautiful line, anticipation is sweeter than realization. The happiness isn't in the having of the thing. It's in the pursuit of the thing. The definite chief aim gives you a path to pursue. That's where the joy is found. If you actually got everything you wanted instantly, with no effort, you'd be bored to death.
It's the climb.
It is the climb. The striving is the point.
He leaves the listener with a final, very provocative thought, this image of the great marker.
It's a haunting image. He imagines a great marker standing at the gateway of life.
Mm.
And as people pass by, this being writes on their foreheads. On some, he writes, poor fool. On others, he writes, poor sinner.
Who are the poor fools?
They are the ones who believe they are wise, the arrogant, the ones who think they know it all and have nothing left to learn.
And the poor sinners.
They are the ones who believe they are saints, the self-righteous, the judgmental.
So what is the alternative? What's the right way to be?
Humility. Hill ends by reminding us that true wisdom lies in knowing how little we actually know. We are the hero of our own wood, and the only person who can stop us or save us is the one we see in the mirror.
It all comes back to the mirror.
It always does.
So here's the question for you listening right now. If you stood in front of a mirror today, right now, and looked yourself in the eye and asked, do I have a blueprint or am I just nailing boards together randomly? What would the honest answer be?
And if the answer is, I don't have a blueprint, that's okay. That's not a failure. It's an awareness. But don't let the sun go down today without starting to draw one. Even a rough sketch is a start.
That's it for this deep dive into Napoleon Hill's The Law of Success. We'll catch you on the next one.
Keep climbing.